Good morning to you. The birds are chirping. Hey everybody, it's Aqua. I was actually coming to a video in preparedness for tomorrow, Autism Awareness Month, so that's probably when it'll get posted, if not later today. Before I get started, as I was trying to prepare some notes to figure out what to talk about up here, I found yet another lovely joy of having a child with autism. They are so creative. Mine chooses to draw on my iPad with red permanent marker, but I have light-proof case. Ooh, so it's not a problem. This is actually funny to me because she drew on my glasses one time. She drew little eyeballs in my glasses right before I was going to work. And I quickly learned that alcohol will get this off. So one of the first things that I want to start with, especially as far as educating people. In this very video, I'm pretty sure you will not hear me refer to my child as autistic. I don't like the word autistic, or that child is, somebody saying that child is autistic. It is a label that has a lot of synonymous other derogatory labels, like you tell somebody that your child is autistic or that your child has autism, and oh, that child's retarded, that child is mentally disabled, that child's slow. No. The point about autism is not one thing or another. It is a serious developmental disability, but there is a spectrum. There is a spectrum where a child could be very highly functioning with some social issues such as Asperger's, all the way down to where it's very severe, where medication and different therapies and stuff are involved in order to establish some form of routine to give that child a sense of normal life or help the parents to cope. My child falls somewhere closer to the frontal range. Hers was mainly a speech delay, some social delays, and it really caught my eye, my husband's eye, when she was about 18 months old. She wasn't quite speaking like we thought she should be. She would say mama, dad, dad, small things, as any small baby would. But it started to disappear. And when she was 1, we mentioned it to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, she's just 1, don't worry about it. When we went back to the doctor at 18 months, the doctor was like, oh, yeah, well, it could be something, but I'm not too worried about it. So at 2 years old, it really started to stress us out, and we demanded to get a hearing evaluation, a speech evaluation, or something. So they sent us over to one of the hospital rehab places, which cost us $300-something. And all they told us, oh, her hearing is fine. Okay? And no further testing came up. The doctor just kept saying, don't worry. And we decided that that wasn't good enough for us. If our child was having some type of difficulty, we wanted to go ahead and get in front of it and help her the best we can. So we ended up getting with this program through the CDSA, Child Development Service Agency. And they were able to evaluate our daughter, get her hooked up with speech. Well, she only got like 2 or 3 months of speech, in-home speech once a week. And just kind of put those resources out there. Of course, that program ended when she was 3. But luckily, they hooked us up with the school system here and had her evaluated. And they got her into that program, like a preschool program, where she gets speech twice a week. She's also getting those social delays. She's getting that gap filled. She is an only child. So it's hard for us to get her around people. We did start doing play date and other different things to kind of get that social environment built up. Of course, we could take her to the park and every different thing, but we did notice that she was kind of hesitant to play with the others. If others didn't want to play, she'd just be like, okay, whatever, do her own thing. She was very big on technology. She loved the iPad, iPhone, all those different things. And unfortunately, that's what this generation is turning into. There are a bunch of kids that are just academically gifted and just are drawn to technology. And it's an amazing thing to see, because back when I was a child, we had computers, but I wasn't allowed to touch my mom's computer, you know, not without her permission. Or we had a computer class that it taught you how to type and do. But outside of that, we didn't have such an open access to technology, the internet, computers. And again, I have an iPad, and it doesn't bother me one bit because I know that she's using it for educational things. She did ABC Mouse. She did a program called Ignitus. And it's just been amazing to see the growth and development over time. Some signs and symptoms you might want to look for if you think that your child has autism, especially at a younger age, children or adults. They may not respond to objects appropriately. They may not show interest in them. If you're having a conversation, they might not be able to maintain eye contact. If you're showing them an object, they may look away. They may easily frighten. There are also exaggerated responses, like an adult having anxiety, over exaggerated anxiety response. A child may shy away from things that shouldn't bother them. Like a balloon popping would startle any child the first time. But when it really, really, really causes that child to decompensate, you know you might have something else that you need to look into. The desire to be alone. My daughter was always very loving. She was always a hugger, a kisser, just wants to cuddle. So I never really saw that. I did notice the avoidance of eye contact. When we called her name, she wouldn't look at us. But we grew used to that. So when we had these different evaluations, we had seen things, but we didn't recognize them as problems because this was our life. This was what we were used to. We were all about giving her every educational opportunity, socializing her as much as possible, helping her beyond the disabilities and things that she could not do. And one of the biggest things they pointed out was call her name and see if she looks at you. She's not going to look at us, you know. And then it really started to open our eyes that, maybe we have been compensating for things that we should have been working on, trying to repair. Another thing, a child may not engage in pretend play. They may not know, if you put them in the kitchen, what are they going to do? Are they going to try to eat the toys? Or are they going to try to cook the food? Are they going to try to prepare? Do they know how to cut, use a fork, use a spoon? Baby doll. What does a baby do? How do you put the baby to sleep? How do you feed the baby? How do you feed another person? All of these are things that your child should know by the time they're 2 or 3. And thankfully my child did, but there were also some other activities that my child really didn't engage in. Losing skills they once had is also another factor that you might want to go see your doctor for an evaluation. Mainly with speech, like I said, when my child was younger, she would say, Mama, Dad, Dad. It would seem like her development was going right on scale until she got older and it started to dissipate and go away. To the point where she did this humming. It was a and now that's improved. Now she's saying words. Some words are getting clearer and clearer every day. Some sounds such as P's and F's. It's another letter. P's, F's, and J's, I want to say. She's still having some problems with, but we're working through that. So for me to go from having to communicate with my daughter through pictures and pointing to her saying words, it's been a completely different experience. And I've just seen so much growth. She's even to the point where she's reading words. She can read signs. Now, of course, we understand her now, her verbal communication and the way that she speaks. And we know it's not going to be clear like the way I'm speaking to you now, even with my little twang. But I can show her a word and she will sound the word out. We also watch Your Baby Can Read growing up. And she sounds the words out, following the word with her finger the same way that that video used to show her. So helping these kids is all about early intervention. Early intervention and teaching. Don't disable them by telling them all the things that they can't do. You modify and you show them things that they are capable of doing. Most people say, I don't get it. How are these kids, what's bothering them? Why is it that they react such a way? Watch this video. This video is going to show you what it's like for a child with autism. Autism spectrum disorder affects about 1 in 68 children across all races. Unfortunately, boys are 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls. There's someone around you, somebody in your family that may be affected by this or may have been affected by this and you not even know it. This month, I charge you to check out different websites. The Autism Society, Google autism. It can't hurt. We Google everything else. Google autism. See what you can find, learn, donate, support. Just open your mind.
Right now, as you sit in this room, it's very easy for you to focus on my voice and understand every word that I'm saying. For you, it's the only noise in the room. This is not how children with autism hear. They hear everything. Sounds that you may not even notice they hear. And they hear them all at the same volume. So as you listen to and are able to focus on my voice, they hear the fan blowing. They hear doors closing. They hear the wait staff clearing tables. They hear the woman 10 feet away rummaging through her purse. They hear a fire truck outside. They hear people walking to their seats. They hear someone pouring a glass of water. They hear the wind. They hear a car alarm going off. They hear someone coughing. They hear a cell phone ringing. They hear a baby crying. If this is what your world sounded like every minute of every day, what would you do to cope? Would you run? Would you scream? Would you rock back and forth? Would you fight to get away? Would you jump up and down and flap your hands? Would you bite your cheek until it bled? Would you hit yourself in the head? What would you do to make it stop? What would you do to make it stop? Our kids are always doing the best that they can, always, to cope with a world that they simply don't hear the same way that we do.
Autism spectrum disorder affects about 1 in 68 children across all races. Unfortunately, boys are 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls. There's someone around you, somebody in your family that may be affected by this or may have been affected by this and you not even know it. This month, I charge you to check out different websites. The Autism Society, Google autism. It can't hurt. We Google everything else. Google autism. See what you can find, learn, donate, support. Just open your mind.